Who here has played a lot of RTSs? I've played a lot of RTSs. I've played like squad-based ones, like Dawn of War and Company of Heroes. Wait, not is it Company of Heroes? Call of Company? Yeah, it's Company of Heroes. Yeah. The Warcraft, Starcraft, Command and Conquer, Age of Darkness, the zombie one. They Are Billions. That's it. A lot. Age of Empires, of course. Age of Mythology. You mean Call of Company of Battlefield of Heroes? Yeah, exactly that one. I've played a lot of them. I think there'd be a cool idea. Okay, I have to open up my thing. Battle for Middle Earth, I have not played that one. Command and Conquer, yes. Would you consider Pikmin an RTS? Yes, and I've played all three. Okay. So here's an idea. And this, okay, you guys never cooperate with me on this. So I really want you to, because if I get distracted, there's no shot of me being able to like describe what I'm talking about here. Okay, like we really have to work together on this one. Okay? So let me like, okay. Let me draw the battlefield. Kind of. Where's the crosshatch? Hatching. Here we go. Yeah, like that. Oh my god, that's so good looking. Holy shit. Okay. And then like... Ooh. Okay. And then like... Okay. So I had an idea, alright? The tasteful thickness of it. I had an idea, okay? And the basic idea was that I thought it would be really cool if you had an asymmetrical RTS. And the point of the thing was that you control a collection of necromancers who are raising the dead, and you're using them to attack a city. So, like, you can imagine the obvious progression here, where, like, you're raising some skeletons, and, like, they kill some civilians, but then, like, eventually you have the military involved, and you're, like, they're, like, tanks, and it's like, well, a zombie can't really kill a tank. So you know, it's like, well, they're super zombies, blah, blah. Okay, so the basic idea, already bored, move on. It's too late, okay? So the basic idea here is this. Isn't that just Age of Wonders? All right. Okay, I'm going to have to try. Okay. Don't read chat. We can't read chat. Okay, I'm removing chat from my screen. Okay, I get I'm so weak to this, okay? So there are a couple of things that I've played in RTSs that I get really, really bored of. I like high levels of micro, but I don't like having an army cluster of like 40 dudes and 10 of them are spellcasters, and you have to micromanage the spellcasters in the army cluster. I like micro of some kinds, but not other kinds. And one thing that I've noticed is that I feel like macro is often really boring in a lot of RTSs. Like, the only interesting part of macro is how hard do you commit to it. That's usually it. StarCraft, Warcraft, Company of Heroes, Dawn of War. The real question is like, okay, are you willing to like sacrifice your military production for long enough to get more like macro out? And I also like the idea of having hero units because I really miss playing Warcraft 3. And I also really like having to make interesting decisions about what to make. And I also like wave armies. So finally, okay? I thought of it, all right? By thought of it, I mean like, it's like 2 a.m. and I can't sleep. Okay. So the idea is that you start off the game with 5 necromancers, all right? And that's it. That's all you get. And these 5 necromancers are the only entities in your entire army that are capable of gathering resources. Nobody else can. And the reason for that is because the resources are bone, blood, sinew, like that shit, right? And you would start in a graveyard, presumably. And as you move through a graveyard, there would be like bone piles and like there'd be like meat, you know, like there'd be basically like resource shit, right? And if you send, not polyline, lasso. If you send like a dude over to gather at that spot, you begin getting income from that, only as long as they're channeling. Some spots would have like an infinite amount of bone because you're in like a graveyard, but maybe like later on battles will happen over here and there will be sites of bone that you can really quickly get a large amount from, but only for a bit because, you know, the people who died there like just died, right? Okay, are you following? The problem is that these guys are also your hero units. And because you have a finite amount of them, like if you want all bone, you send all of them over to the fucking bone pit, and you have like congrats, you got a ton of bone. But now you don't have any hero dudes out here, and you also aren't getting like sinew or meat or whatever else. So the idea would be that you would no stop. So the idea would be basically like I'm gonna describe like an opener to you, and I want you to see if you can follow my like flow here. Okay, can you do that for me? Okay, let's say that there are like two early guys that you can produce: skeletons and zombies. Okay, skeletons require only bone. Zombies require bone and meat. Zombies are tankier because they have flesh, but they're slower because they're weighed down by that flesh. Whereas skeletons are lighter and faster and have less health because they're more animate and they're not made of meat, right? So if you have like an infinite meat pile and an infinite bone pile over here, right? You can send your dudes over here to like get that. And once you have enough, you can use one of them because they're also your only builders to build like an obelisk or like a altar or something. And it will auto produce a specific unit type to a direction of your choosing. They're like wave enemies or like wave units, basically. It like every skeleton produced is like 2 bone, and you produce like 8 bone per tick. So you can produce like 4 skeletons off of 1 dude harvesting from 1 infinite bone pile, right? And you can send big waves out in a direction. And the idea would be, of course, that you get the ability to get like higher totem tier shit or whatever, but the waves are just the backdrop. You know, you can kill civilians and I don't know, maybe cops with that, but you can't directly control these guys, okay? The real fucking me, Marino, is that the resources that you get also allow you to transform your necromancers into like different types of undead that have specific hero-based abilities that you can use to get involved. And they're really strong, but now they're not harvesting resources. And also, they can be used on like a set of sort of army spells. Does anyone else feel like army spells are the most fun thing in the universe? I love that shit in Total War, where it's not a unit that has a spell, your army has one. So anywhere on the map that's in range, like in sight range, it's like a fuck you from God. And the idea would be like, as long as something is near enough to your undead, like if you have a skeleton here, it'd be like an area around that. Like that's a viable target because you can channel through it with your fuck you shit. So basically, it would be like, how much do you commit to the spells versus the wave versus the hero shit? And like, how effectively do you use that to break through the far more competent and better armed human enemies? Because like, one tank with a bunch of soldiers around it would be like, that's like a fucking obstacle, right? That's not easy to get through. You know what I mean? Like, obviously. Like, Jesus. So the way I imagine it being is that like you're making a bunch of decisions about which resources you want specifically and how like actively you want to use them on your range of army abilities while you're sending in waves to kind of keep an ever advancing human threat from moving in like stalled while you break lines with your spells and hero unit or hero units if you want. Does that make any sense? I feel like if done well, that could be like everything I want in an RTS because I really like utilizing hero units to kind of like break lines when there are group dynamics going on or like waves fighting in an area, and you have to like be smart about like, oh well, if you took out this guy right here you'd help, or this or that guy right there. And as of course obviously like as things got harder and harder, like the humans would be more aggressive on moving in, and there would be like airdrops and shit, and you'd have to like constantly reassess which shit you need and what sacrifices you have to make. I feel like that could be really fucking cool. I don't know, you guys get what I'm talking about? You could win once you blow up there. I don't fucking know. The White House is right there. Godspeed. There's the White House. You blow it up. All right, I'm looking at chat again. You mashed resource management with RTS. It's just like in StarCraft, there's no choice about how to do resource management. When you build a base, you fill up the mineral field in the Vespine. You never don't do that unless you're for some reason your build doesn't require gas. But like for the most part, it's not much in the way of choice. Can I steal your idea? Sure, whatever. I just had it in my mind, and I have to let it out to somebody or I'll explode. There we go. Okay, lost 1,000 viewers. Excellent, nice. Are the necromancers gay? Yeah, sure. Needs a nude mod. I feel like it'd be really cute if it was in like 8-pixel sprite StarCraft style. You know what I mean? I just have such fond memories of being a kid and like a bunch of Zerglings go in and like the idea of like later in the game you have like 200 skeletons a minute flooding in, and there's like a big wall right here because there's like a gunner here and like a tank and blah 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 blah, and like your guys hold the line. If the skeletons weren't holding the line, they just move forward and fucking kill you, you know? So you have to be like, ah, well, if I do this specific thing and that specific thing, and yeah, I don't know, I feel like it'd be cool. Okay, cool. All right. Will the starting area bones and shit run out? The idea would be that these never run out, but that there'd be like quick piles of it over here. You know what I mean? So there'd be value in getting your necromancer dudes out there, but again, that pulls them away from the resources. Okay. It's a concept. That was a nice autism. Thank you. I feel like that was a relatively controlled autism. You know what I mean? I feel like I hemmed that one together relatively well because chat wasn't there to distract you. That's true. Wouldn't RTS stuff be really easy to map out in Unity? Because like literally at the start, at the baseline, you literally just need to attach like a hitbox to a single sprite, and then you just need to work out basic like pathfinding stuff. Nah, pathfinding stuff is really difficult. I shouldn't minimize that. Like doing it well, I mean, with like big groups and stuff. That's the hard part. Yeah, yeah, like pathing and trying to work around and blah, 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 blah. Nav mesh is pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good.